Now we'll learn how to multiply and divide fractions. As a review, when you add or subtract fractions, you have to have a common denominator, and you add only the tops. To contrast that, when you multiply, you don't need a common denominator. And you multiply both the tops and the bottoms straight across. Multiply your numerators, multiply your denominators. To divide, you flip the second fraction and then you multiply. Multiply like normal. Multiply tops, multiply bottoms. So let's start with multiplication problems. 3/4 times 5, 6. Multiply the tops straight across. 3 times 5, 15. Multiply the bottoms straight across. 4 times 6, 24. Then reduce. Remember, when you're reducing, good numbers to check for are 2, 3, maybe 5, 10. So I see that both of these divide by 3. So I will divide both top and bottom by 3. And I get 5/8. 5 and 8 do not share any common factors, so that is the answer. -3/2 times -1/15. First off, I have a negative times a negative, so my answer will be a positive. Then I multiply straight across. 3 times 1 is 3. 2 times 15 is 30. I actually have a song for this. It says, multiplying fractions, it's no problem. First you do the top, then you do the bottom. Tops, then bottoms. No need for a common denominator. To reduce, divide a 3 out of both the numerator and the denominator, so you get 1/10 for an answer. When a number is right next to a parenthesis, multiplication is implied. So this problem is 2/15 times -15/16. We have a positive fraction times a negative fraction. A positive times a negative is a negative. Multiplying fractions, it's no problem. First you do the top. 2 times 15 is 30. Then you do the bottom. 5 times 6 is 30. -30/30 reduces to -1. Again, think pies. If you had 30 pieces and you ate all 30, you've eaten one whole pie. To reduce that normally, you could divide both top and bottom by 30 and get 1/1, which is 1. -1. Some instructors will teach a method where you pre-reduce. For example, here they would cross out the 6 and the 3 and put a 1 and a 2. I do not teach that, but you may use it if you've learned it in a previous math class. To divide fractions, you take the second fraction, flip it, and then you multiply like normal. I have found through my years of teaching math that students make less mistakes if they actually write out the flipped version with a multiply sign, so they don't mess up what to do. Once you've flipped the second fraction, you just multiply like normal. Multiplying fractions, it's no problem. First you do the top, then you do the bottom. Both my numerator and denominator have a common factor of 3, so I will divide out a 3 on both top and bottom in order to reduce, and I get the answer 25/8. Again, you can change this to a mixed number if you want to. I would prefer to have an improper but reduced fraction. -2/5 divided by 4/5. Let's talk about sign first. If you have a negative divided by a positive, your answer will be negative, so we'll have a negative answer. You do not need to get a common denominator when you multiply or divide. To divide, you need to flip the second fraction. 4/5 turns into 5/4, and then multiply. 2 times 5 is 10. 5 times 4 is 20. Now I look at -10/20 and say, oh, that's -1/2. You could reduce it also by dividing both top and bottom by 10. Negative 8/7 divided by negative 2/9. A negative divided by a negative is a positive, so our answer will be positive. I flip the second fraction and multiply. 8 times 9, 72. 7 times 2, 14. I notice that both, that's a 4. I notice that both of those are even. So to reduce, I'm going to divide out a 2, both top and bottom, giving me 36/7. 36 and 7 are relatively prime, which means they share no factors. Therefore, that fraction is reduced. Again, I suggest that you rewrite your division problems as multiplication problems with the fraction flipped. That seems to reduce any errors. Next thing I want to talk about is, notice that nowhere in here did we do any cross multiplying. Cross multiplying is a special, I can't spell when I'm writing at the same time. Anyway, cross multiplication has no place in the fraction operations. We don't cross multiply anywhere in here. Cross multiplication is used in ratios to find a missing value. A lot of students want to cross multiply when they do this lesson, and you don't do it. One point of note, the reciprocal of a fraction means to flip it. For example, the reciprocal of 4/15 would be 15/4. So sometimes in textbooks, the directions for dividing fractions will say, in order to divide fractions, multiply by the reciprocal of the second fraction.